Let's cross to Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv. France 24 senior correspondent Catherine Norris-Trent is there. Catherine, that announcement of telling people to evacuate, it's because that counteroffensive is still very much on by the Ukrainians. You were able to visit areas that had been retaken.
We've been visiting areas for the past few days which have been retaken by Ukrainian troops after having been occupied by Russian forces, sometimes for up to 6 months. That's in the case of Izium, which is here in the greater Kharkiv region in the northeast of Ukraine. And we've been meeting people there, civilians really bearing the brunt of the fighting and of the occupation, often families with very young children stuck with no food, electricity, running water or supplies. In fact, we met one mother who gave birth during the Russian occupation of Izium. Her daughter, now 5 years old, she had to make an hour-long journey under shelling to get medical attention because no doctors were able to treat her where she was. Her children have been living under the sound of bombing. Another family told us that their house had come under attack 3 times, damaged first by a tank explosion, second by a Grad missile strike, and third by what they described as cluster munitions falling on their garden. The 10-year-old son of that family warning the family, and they just got down to the bomb shelter in time, they told us. So the human cost of this conflict, of course, has been huge for several months, but it's really clear in these areas retaken by Ukrainian forces, which we're able to visit now, and just the fear of these people and the need that they are in as we approach late autumn and winter here in Ukraine, when weather conditions get very bad. They haven't got roofs on their houses. They've only just got power back up and running, and they're just wondering how they're going to survive.
Yeah, a big concern for them is firewood.
Absolutely, because heating is a major issue in Ukraine. Of course, the winters get way below freezing, very heavy snow, lots of ice, especially in the east of the country. Gas supplies, a lot of them are cut off. Electricity has been patchy in all areas of Ukraine in recent days because of missile strikes, never mind the formerly occupied areas where there's just such huge damage to infrastructure that it's a real race against time to get it repaired. The challenges for authorities going into winter are massive in Ukraine. They're trying to get people to evacuate out of areas they've taken back. They say they're not going to force anyone. Some people don't want to lose their homes. Some people are deeply traumatized by all that they've seen and been through. But they're saying that, they need to provide thousands of people with places to shelter, and it's a real race against time for them, as well as, of course, the military offensive, which is continuing apace.
Let's talk about that military offensive. Catherine, we saw in that report the local regional authority in Kherson, one of the first cities taken at the start of the war by Russia, telling civilians to evacuate and calling for Moscow's help. He's on the other side of the front line. What can we surmise from that?
Well, that's perhaps a sign of how fast the military offensive is moving in the south and how far it has come, because Ukrainian authorities have retaken hundreds of square kilometers down there in the southern front, pushing ever closer to the city of Kherson, which is the only regional capital that Russian forces managed to retake, and they've occupied that since pretty much the beginning of the war back in March. So they're the Kremlin-appointed puppet governor of the occupied Kherson province, calling on the Russian Federation for help to try and evacuate civilians. Certainly a very different tone than he was striking not that long ago, when he insisted that things were basically stable in the region. And there's also photos posted online, apparently by Ukrainian armed forces, of leaflets they've dropped over the region, telling people if they need to get out of the way of shelling to cross over onto the eastern bank of the Dnieper River there, which divides the Kherson region. So that's perhaps another sign that that battle is getting ever closer to that key city in the south.
Catherine Norris-Trent reporting live from Kharkiv. Many thanks for that live update.